The manila envelope sat on my kitchen counter, next to my coffee that had gone cold an hour ago. My fiancé, Derek, slid it toward me with hands that weren't quite steady. "I need you to read this," he said quietly. "All of it, before you say anything." I stared at the return address. Sentinel Investigations, Portland, Oregon. A private investigator. My stomach dropped. "Derek, what is this? Your mother called me 3 weeks ago." His voice was careful, measured. "She said you'd been cheating on me. That she had proof. That she couldn't stand watching me marry someone who was lying to me." The world tilted. My mother. Sabotaging my engagement. Again. I didn't believe her, Derek continued. But I also couldn't just ignore it. So I hired someone to follow you. To verify the truth, whatever it was. He tapped the envelope. "This is what they found." I opened it with shaking hands. Inside was a 43-page report documenting 3 weeks of my life in excruciating detail. My work schedule, my lunch meetings, my gym routine. Every coffee shop, every client dinner, every evening I'd spent at home or with friends. And on the final page, a section labeled, False Accusation Source Investigation. What I read there didn't just clear my name, it exposed exactly how far my mother was willing to go to destroy my happiness. Before I tell you how a mother's lie became a 43-page investigation and a wedding sabotage turned into the evidence I'd needed for years, hit like and tell me, have you ever had a family member try to destroy your relationship with lies, only to have the truth documented by a professional? Because that morning, I learned that sometimes the people who demand to be trusted the most are the ones who should be investigated the most. They say a mother knows best. But sometimes a mother just knows how to manipulate. My name is Adriana Reyes, I'm 31. And I've spent the last decade trying to build a life my mother can't control. I grew up in Seattle, the only daughter of Margaret Reyes, a woman who believed love was measured in control, and family meant ownership. My father left when I was 12. I understand why now, and my mother spent the next 18 years making me the center of her universe in the most suffocating way possible. No boyfriend was ever good enough. No friend was truly trustworthy. No decision I made was the right one, unless she'd approved it first. When I moved to Portland for college, she called it abandonment. When I started my marketing career, she called it a phase. When I got engaged to Derek 6 months ago, she called it a mistake I'd regret. Derek Chen was everything my mother hated. Independent, successful, someone who encouraged me to set boundaries instead of enabling her intrusions. He's a software architect, kind, stable, the kind of man who listens when I talk and doesn't need to control outcomes to feel secure. My mother hated him from the moment we met. Not because of who he was, because of what he represented. Freedom, a life she couldn't orchestrate, a partner who wouldn't defer to her judgments. She started small. Comments about his family being too traditional, they're Chinese American, she's racist. Questions about whether he could really provide, he makes twice my salary. Suggestions that I was settling because I was getting older. When we got engaged, she escalated. She refused to help plan the wedding, told relatives I was making a mistake. Called Derek's mother to warn her that I had commitment issues. Derek handled it with more grace than she deserved. "She's your mom," he'd say. "She'll come around." I knew she wouldn't. But I didn't expect her to accuse me of infidelity, to destroy my engagement 3 months before the wedding. It had started 3 weeks earlier, apparently. My mother had called Derek at work, her voice trembling with what she called maternal duty. "I need to tell you something about Adriana," she'd said. "It's breaking my heart, but you deserve to know before you marry her." Derek had pulled over his car, sensing where this was going. "What is it, Margaret?" "She's seeing someone else." I didn't want to believe it, but I've seen them together. I have proof. "What proof?" "Photos. Times. A pattern." "I tracked her phone location, Derek. She's been lying to you." He'd asked to see the evidence. She'd sent photos. Me at a coffee shop with a man. Me entering a downtown building. Me at a restaurant in what looked like intimate conversation. Every photo was real. Every context was a lie. The man at the coffee shop, my client, James Morrison, reviewing campaign materials. The downtown building, my therapist's office, where I'd been processing my mother's behavior for 6 months. The restaurant, a work dinner with my entire team, cropped to show only me and our male creative director. But Derek didn't know that context. And my mother had presented everything with the careful manipulation of someone who'd planned this for weeks. "I wanted to confront you immediately," Derek told me that morning in my kitchen. "But something felt wrong. Your mom was too prepared, too detailed. It felt staged." So he'd made a decision I hadn't expected. Instead of confronting me with accusations, he'd hired Sentinel Investigations to follow me, to verify the truth before destroying our relationship with doubts. For 3 weeks, a private investigator named Sarah Chen, no relation to Derek, just cosmic irony, had documented my life. She'd followed me to work, photographed my client meetings, verified the identities of everyone I interacted with, cross-referenced my mother's evidence with actual facts. The report was thorough in a way that would have been invasive if it hadn't been necessary. Week 1. Subject maintains consistent work schedule. Arrives office 8:30 a.m., leaves 6 p.m. Lunch meetings documented with identifiable business associates. No unexplained absences, no suspicious patterns. Week 2. Subject attended therapy session at downtown location, Building C, matching photo provided by Margaret Reyes. Verified with building directory, Dr. Sarah Lindstrom, licensed psychologist. Subject's only visit to this location weekly, Tuesdays at 4 p.m. Week 3. Subject attended team dinner at Wildwood Restaurant, matching photo provided by Margaret Reyes. 5 colleagues present, including creative director Michael Park. Individual cropped in provided photo to suggest intimate dinner. Meal lasted 2 hours. Group setting confirmed. Every accusation my mother had made, methodically disproven with timestamps, photos, and verified identities. But Sarah had gone further. She'd investigated the source. The final section of the report, the one that made my hands shake, was titled, False Accusation Source Investigation. Sarah had done what Derek asked. Not just verify my fidelity, but understand why my mother would make these accusations in the first place. Finding 1. Margaret Reyes accessed subject's iCloud account using credentials obtained through previous access to subject's devices. Location data, photos and calendar information harvested without authorization. My mother had been tracking my phone for months, maybe longer. Finding 2. Photos provided by Margaret Reyes were authentic, but deliberately miscaptioned and cropped to misrepresent context. Metadata analysis shows original photos were taken by Margaret herself, or obtained from subject's cloud storage, then manipulated. She'd stolen my photos and weaponized them. Finding 3. Margaret Reyes contacted subject's therapist office, Dr. Lindstrom, pretending to be subject, requesting appointment records. Request denied per HIPAA regulations. Margaret then visited building herself and photographed subject entering, later presenting as evidence of a fair location. She'd tried to access my therapy records. My therapy, where I'd been discussing her manipulation. Finding 4. Background investigation reveals pattern of relationship interference. Previous partners of subject reported similar accusations from Margaret Reyes. Ex-boyfriend Connor Walsh confirmed Margaret called him in 2019, claiming subject was unstable and unfaithful. Relationship ended shortly after. Connor. My relationship 3 years ago that ended abruptly after he'd become uncomfortable with something, but wouldn't say what. She'd done this before. Finding 5. Financial records show Margaret Reyes recently refinanced home, indicating possible financial stress. Subject is named beneficiary on significant life insurance policy. Investigator notes, pattern suggests possible financial motivation to prevent marriage, maintain control over subject's life choices and potential inheritance. The report ended with a professional assessment. Evidence conclusively demonstrates subject, Adriana Reyes, has not engaged in infidelity. Evidence equally demonstrates Margaret Reyes deliberately fabricated accusations using stolen data, manipulated photos, and calculated misrepresentation. Recommend subject consider legal action for privacy violations and defamation. I looked up at Derek, the report still open in my hands. You hired someone to follow me. I did. No apology in his voice, but no pride either. Because I trusted you enough to believe the truth would prove itself, and I didn't trust your mother enough to take her word without verification. You could have just asked me, and you would have told me everything in this report. He agreed. But your mother would have called it lies. She would have manufactured more evidence. This way, I have irrefutable proof. He paused. Not proof that you're faithful. I already believed that. Proof of what she did. How she did it. Why she did it. I read the financial motivation section again. She's broke? Refinance the house for $200,000. I had Sarah check. Your name is on the deed as co-owner from when your grandmother left it to both of you. If you get married, your assets become legally entangled with mine. She loses leverage. This was about money? Money? Control. Fear of losing you. Derek took the report, flipped to a marked page. But this is the part one need you to see. It was a transcript. A recorded phone conversation between Sarah, posing as a concerned friend, and my mother, Margaret Reyes. I had to do something. Once she marries him, I'll never get her back. He'll turn her against me completely. Sarah Chen undercover. But accusing her of cheating seems extreme. Margaret Reyes. It worked before. Connor believed me. And if Derek's smart, he'll believe me too. Adriana's too loyal. She won't defend herself properly. She'll get flustered, he'll get suspicious, and the wedding will fall apart. Then she'll need me again. Derek's jaw was tight. She said this 4 days ago. Admitted the whole thing to someone she thought was sympathizing with her. I closed the report. 28 years of manipulation. Multiple relationships sabotaged. My privacy violated. My life tracked like a suspect. And evidence. Finally, evidence. What do you want to do? Derek asked. This report documents multiple crimes. Identity theft, illegal surveillance, possibly harassment. We could take it to the police. I want her out of my life, I said quietly. Completely. No wedding invite. No contact. No access. Done. He pulled out his phone. I already changed every password, enabled two-factor authentication on everything, and had a security expert sweep your devices. Your iCloud is locked down. She can't track you anymore. You did this before showing me the report? I did it the day I got the report. Because whether you wanted to press charges or just cut contact, she didn't get to keep violating your privacy while you decided. I looked at this man who'd trusted me enough to investigate the truth, instead of just believing accusations, who'd protected me before I even knew I needed protection. The wedding's still on? I asked. The wedding's absolutely on. He smiled. But your mother's not invited, and if she shows up, I'm having security remove her. I've already budgeted for it. We got married on a Saturday in September. Small ceremony, 50 people, no one who'd make the day about them instead of us. My mother sent 17 messages the week of the wedding. Apologies, threats, bargaining, more accusations. I didn't read them. Derek's security team did, documenting everything for the restraining order my lawyer was preparing. She tried to show up. Security stopped her at the venue entrance, with the court order we'd obtained the week before. She left quietly, for once without an audience to perform for. The marriage has been exactly what my mother feared. A partnership that doesn't require her input, her approval, or her presence. Derek and I make decisions together, set boundaries together, build a life that's ours. I got a letter from Connor, my ex, after he somehow heard about the PI report. I'm sorry I believed her, he wrote. I should have trusted you. You didn't have evidence, I wrote back. I don't blame you, but I'm grateful someone finally investigated instead of just believing her. If this story resonated, drop a comment. Where are you listening from? And have you ever had family sabotage a relationship with lies, only to have the truth finally documented? This is Calm Verdict Stories. I'm Adriana. And this is what happens when manipulation meets investigation and assumptions meet evidence. To everyone with a parent who weaponizes love, you're not required to keep giving them ammunition. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is hand them a restraining order and walk away.